Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we sow the seeds for an Ageratum plant. So let's go. Ageratum, also known as floss flower, is considered an annual here where I live, Zone 5B in New Hampshire. It comes in a lot of different colors. You often find it in a purple color, but I've also seen it in white as well as pink. And there are a couple of different heights to it. There are the shorter varieties, which are great towards the front of a flower border or in a pot. And then there are the taller varieties, which make a great cut flower. They typically grow from about 6 to 12 inches in height. What I like about Ageratum is they can take a bunch of different light conditions. Although they prefer full sun, they can take a little bit of shade. Now, you don't want to put them in full shade, but if it's even partial sun to partial shade, they will do okay and they should bloom in those conditions as well. I've read conflicting things about whether or not they're drought tolerant. My experience has been when they're out in the landscape and they're getting enough water from the rain or from irrigation, they typically tend to be fine. However, I also have experienced having Ageratum in containers or pots, and if they're not getting enough water, they definitely start to get crispy and they can easily dry up. So you want to make sure you're giving them an adequate amount of water. One thing that I've learned over the last few years is Ageratum appreciates it if you deadhead it. The more you deadhead it, the cleaner it will look and the more blooms it will produce for you. And who doesn't love a flower that attracts bees, pollinators, and all the beneficial insects? Well, Ageratum definitely falls into that category. Even butterflies are attracted to this flower. And I'm not sure where you live, but here where I live, I have plenty of deer. So what I really like about this plant is not only is it deer resistant, it's also rabbit resistant. I always like to put a caution out there if there is a plant that's poisonous. Ageratum is known to be poisonous to humans and animals. The seeds that we're going to be sowing today are seeds that I collected this past fall. I made a video showing you my process for collecting the seeds, and I'll be sure to add a link to that video in the description below. It's actually really easy to collect the seeds from an Ageratum plant, which is really nice because when you collect your own seeds, not only are you saving a lot of money, but you also can then grow a ton more plants the next year. And the two colors of Ageratum that we're going to be starting today from seed are a purple color as well as a white color. The purple one I've grown many times in my garden. The white one I've never grown, so I'm very excited about that one. You want to sow the seeds to Ageratum about 8 to 10 weeks before your average last frost. My average last frost, based on my zip code, is May 15th, and today is March 6th. So today is a great day for me to be starting these seeds. When you're starting the seeds to any flower, it's always good to look at the back of the seed package to read all the different requirements to germinate that seed. And since I've collected my own seeds, there are no instructions on here. However, the internet is a great resource. I typically like to go to multiple sites to find the information I'm looking for. And what I've found with my research is that Ageratum seeds should be surface sown, which means they need light to germinate, and you just barely want to press the seeds into the surface of your seed starting or potting mix. It's going to take about 7 to 10 days for the seeds to germinate. And they do well if you put them on a heat mat because their soil temperature requirement needs to be somewhere around 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So today I will definitely be placing these on a heat mat just to make sure they're getting that right temperature requirement. I want to take a quick moment and thank you for subscribing to my channel or watching my videos. I really appreciate your support. And lately I've been making a lot of videos on how to start the seeds for different plants. And I realize that the videos might be quite repetitive, but I like to show the full process because there are a lot of new people finding the videos, and I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So always feel free to skip forward to any parts of any of the videos I make to find the sections that you're looking for. All right, let's go ahead and sow these seeds now. Under this plate is a pot, and in the pot is seed starting mix. I made the seed starting mix myself. What I like about it is, number one, it's a lot cheaper for me to make my own seed starting mix, but also it's nice and fluffy. You can buy your own seed starting mix, and you can also use potting mix, whatever you feel comfortable with. The key is to make sure that it's nice and fluffy, that it can retain water, and that it's been pre-moistened. And you can see I'm running out. I need to make some more, but we're going to use what we have here today. When you squeeze your pre-moistened seed starting or potting mix, you want to make sure that you don't have excess water coming out of it. But also when you let go, you can see that it's holding its form. And that tells me that that's the right consistency and moisture level for the seed starting mix. I pre-moisten this with boiling hot water because I like to kill off any fungus gnat eggs that might have been in the peat moss. And I'll make sure I put a link below to the seed starting mix that I make, but you can also use cocoa coir if you don't want to use peat moss. It's pretty much just 2 parts of peat moss to 1 part of vermiculite. I've already used this container a few times this season, so it's fine. I haven't had any issues with my soil. But if you did have any issues with your soil that you're using, let's say there was mold or fungus, then you'd want to clean your container. I like to use a restaurant to go container, and you can see it's pretty shallow. And you'll notice I put holes in the bottom of this container. And the reason I did that is when I bottom water my seedlings, it's basically going to be wicking the water up from below. You don't ever want to spray your seedlings from the top because that can cause a lot of different issues. I like to mass sow my seeds in containers like this and then prick them out. But I realize that's a lot of work. You don't have to do that. If you want to use something like a 6-cell pack, you can definitely use that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add the seed starting mix to the container. Then regardless of what container you're choosing to sow your seeds in, you just want to make sure that you take out any air pockets. And also you want to push down on the seed starting mix, but you don't want to press down too hard in your container. That's not good for the root development of your plant. So I'm just barely pressing down. When I collected the seeds in the fall, you can see that I put them in these small little Ziploc bags. I made sure that the seeds were dry. I labeled the name of the seed, so Ageratum, it's a purple color, and then I do have the date here. So these were collected just this past fall. And here's the other one that I collected. It's also an Ageratum, it's a white color, and I just put the place where I collected them, which was Portsmouth, very close to my house, and also the year that I collected these. Today, we're going to plant the purple ones. I've run out of seed starting mix. And then when I make some more seed starting mix in another day, I will plant the white ones. The seeds of the Ageratum are teeny tiny. And you can see that in my hand here, not only do I have a bunch of seeds, which is hard to see, but I also have what's called the chaff. And that's just the pod material that came with the Ageratum when I pulled the pod off. It has the chaff, and it also has the seeds mixed in. And that's okay. We're going to sprinkle all of this on the top. So I can't tell you how many seeds we'll be planting. You're just going to have to find out when I do a seedling tour how many Ageratum we ended up with. But I'll be sure to pop up a close-up picture of what the seeds look like, just in case you're wondering what Ageratum seeds look like. So all we're doing is we are just sprinkling the seeds on the surface here. Last year when I grew Ageratum, I didn't grow as many plants as I wanted to. So this year, I definitely want to have a lot more of this plant in my yard. I had planted the Ageratum in a container pot, and it looked really pretty in that container pot. And then I also had it planted out in the landscape. I had it out in my rose garden. It's important that you press down on seeds that need light to germinate, because even though we've surface sown the seeds, you still want to press down on them just to give them the best chance of survival so that they can actually root right into the seed starting mix or potting mix. I still have plenty of more seeds, but we'll see how we do with what we just planted. Even though the seed starting mix has been pre-moistened, I'm going to add a little bit more water to the top. Now it's important to cover this with some sort of a humidity dome. You want to do that because you want it to be a nice, humid, warm environment for those seeds. That will help them germinate. It also helps with keeping the seed starting mix moist. You can use whatever you have that's clear, that lets light in. I'm going to reuse some clear plastic wrap that I've already used previously for other seeds that I started. I like to label the name of the seed that we just sowed as well as the date that it was sown. This will get placed on a heat mat, and my heat mat stays at about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's on day and night. It's not on a timer. And once I see the seedlings emerging, the clear plastic wrap will get removed. This will get removed from the heat mat, and this will go under my LED shop lights. It's been pretty busy around here since I started sowing seeds about a month ago. Between just sowing the seeds in the restaurant to go containers and then pricking them out, potting them up into the 6 cell packs, and just keeping them watered is keeping me busy. But I personally like the process of starting them in the restaurant to go container. If I had put them in 6 cell packs, I probably would have run out of room by now under my LED grow lights. So that's just something to keep in mind. You want to do what works for you. But I do realize that pricking out plants and potting them up is an extra step for many of us. Then it's not necessarily a step that we all enjoy. So you definitely want to enjoy your gardening, your seed starting process. And when it comes to seed starting, what I'll do is put a link to a video below that just shows you some tips and tricks for seed starting and watering and fertilizing in case you have any questions. And as always, if you have any questions at all about the Ageratum plant or anything else regarding gardening, please drop it in the comments below. I'd love to help out however I can. I hope you've been able to do some sort of gardening, be it indoors or outdoors. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.